There was a time when we weren't wanted. The country I'd grown up and lived in and contributed to all my life was becoming unrecognisable because I'd not done a certain thing with my body, because I'd chosen to stay healthy in other ways. People like me were losing their jobs, their friends. To travel to different countries and even hold certain jobs, we were subjected to the humiliating rigmarole of proving our cleanliness, proving our health. Why did you treat us like this? It's taken me a long time to return to this video and the footage I filmed almost 12 months ago. But now I feel ready. The creativity that was robbed from me at that time by my government is now burning with confusion, anger and hope. So join me as we go back to that time, to learn together what it was like to be one of the unwanted, the unclean, and try to understand how we enjoyed ourselves despite all the hatred and fear. So the things we had to do to come on this trip, there was quite a lot of bureaucracy that we had to go through on the Spanish side. So we're just dropping off our day 2 tests now. It's freezing cold. Yep. Not presenting any clinical symptoms, so if it came back as positive, number 1, I'd be surprised. Number 2, I'd also be immune, wouldn't I? So number 1, I had to take a PCR test on Thursday morning, first thing, because you're not supposed to drink or eat before doing that. Emily and I took that straight into Cambridge, the city near where we live, and then dropped it in like a little box. After that, it was basically a waiting game. And it's kind of weird, right, because usually I'd be really excited about going away in the month beforehand, like building up to it. I mean, a lot of a holiday is the build up to a holiday and the feeling of excitement that you're going away and you're going to go and learn something about another place. But we didn't have that this time round, purely because of the fact that we didn't know whether we'd be able to go on holiday up until a point where, you know, this test comes back. So by 5 o'clock in the morning the next day, we only found out about this because an email came in saying that we were yippee negative. So now we know we can go on holiday, and all of a sudden it's like shit. I mean, superstition, I didn't even pack my bags beforehand because I thought, wow, what if we can't go on holiday? I don't want to jinx it. We then had to fill out a passenger locator form here at Stansted Airport. So far going through Stansted, there's actually not many people wearing masks, which I think is a good thing. So it was nice to come here and find that. We're at the Wetherspoons, got myself a coffee. Maybe it is about just trying to stop us travelling, and hopefully this video will, to some extent, say to you, you know what, I am going to go travelling, fuck 'em. So, funnily enough, it took until I was in the cigarettes section of the airport, and of this whole trip actually, to finally be asked to wear a mask. It's funny that they sell loads of this lovely stuff here, nice cigarettes, for your health. I mean, that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's about your health. We'd done the English thing and gone to Tenerife. However, we'd hired a beautiful villa in El Médano, right by the sea. I remember being greeted by the villa manager and being shown around the villa. Our bedroom had this massive window, and I remember going upstairs to the top terrace and almost feeling this strange, overwhelming emotion. This was the first time that we'd been on holiday since the start of all the troubles. And going on vacation for me was the reason I went to work, the thing I looked forward to, and to a certain extent, to this day, defines who I am. And that's our ladder down to the sea. And down there, I think you're going to see some crabs. Guten Tag, da.
Guten Tag, do you know? Is Steve going to be alright? Don't worry.
I don't think so, Emily. Well,
He'll get back and he'll be in bed for the rest of the day.
Alright, so this is me being a little bit harsh to my mate Steve, who doesn't like being in boats and doesn't really like the sea that much either. I was like, Steve, we need to get out there on that boat, we need to go out on it now, and no one else wanted to come with me, so Steve's stuck with it. Just out of shot, there's a couple of ladies hopefully looking at my white emulsion torso. But eventually we did get out there, and we actually did go quite a long way, even though you won't be able to hear it on camera because Emily's giggling. But Steve literally hated every second of it.
Oh God, don't go near that boat.
So then, what happened at the airport when we landed in Spain? This is kind of the bit that Emily and I were a bit worried about because we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't know how mental they'd be and all that sort of stuff. So firstly, why don't we talk about the people who often say because of Brexit we now have to line up in the non-EU queue. Well, I'm only going to be speaking for Tenerife South Airport. We did line up in the queue that said from outside of the European Union, because that is now what the United Kingdom is as a legal entity and country, but they just couldn't hack it. Bear in mind that almost all the people who go on holiday in Tenerife are English at this time of year. Maybe you get the odd German, a couple of Italians or whatever. In the end, they just opened up all the European gates as well. Another strange thing that happened was the electronic gates where you put your passport in. The guard sort of walked off, and I did it, you know, it actually worked for once. Got a green tick, and I just walked through. There wasn't a gate to open to let me through, I just walked through. And he came over to me and said, "Oh, did you get a green tick?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, yeah, on you go." So I could have had a cross and saying like I'm being hunted by Interpol, but he'd never have known. So the next thing, when we tried to input our PCR test result, which was negative, into the Spanish system, it just wouldn't accept it. So he self-validated basically and just said we're negative. Took our results with us as well that we got like via email from I can't remember what Randox, I think the test company was. When we get to Spain, we get through passport control, passport gets stamped, and then there's another desk where they just scan your QR code that you get from the Spanish Health Board when you've inputted and just said to them I'm negative. That's all I did. I didn't have to prove what test it was, I didn't have to put a number in for the test, anything like that. So for a start, I'm with, well, 3 other people who are fully prawn cocktail. I'm ready salted still. The prawn cocktails we know can spread their flavour just as much as I can spread mine, and yet they have no idea about whether they're, you know, spreadable or not. So today we are going to go to a leper colony, a Billy Connolly leper colony. We're going to a leper colony, and I think it's going to be quite a cool place to get some shots, but also where I am with my current health status, I think it's quite a nice little, you know, similarity. Beautiful day here. Just going to enjoy coffee and get ready to go out. Built in 1943 by Spain's fascist Franco government, the Sanatorium of Abades was meant to house unfortunate islanders who contracted leprosy. Back then, around 200 people on the island were reported to have the disease, and so the small fishing village of Abades was chosen because it was far away from the larger communal centres. The sanatorium boasts multiple bungalows that would have acted as accommodation for the inhabitants, a school, a hospital, and eerily, a massive Franco-style church. Visiting a leper colony at this time, at this period in our history, felt strange. there seems to be quite a lot of good art here, so hopefully we're going to have a look at some of that. But I suppose what I thought was funny that we came out here is that it seems like the governments of our world want to tear our societies apart by saying that people like me are effectively lepers and not worth having access to things like medical treatment or anything like that. Just so you know, that's how you don't lay tiles. You don't do tiles like that. That is shite. So this is the old school. So after this place, after they stopped it being a leprosy colony, Billy Connolly, they used this in the 60s, wasn't it? For military training. So they had exercises here. So if you look out on the edifice of the school itself, you'll actually see a lot of bullet holes in this. The sanatorium was never used to house anyone who had leprosy. Breakthrough prophylactic drugs and society's changing attitudes to people with the disease shrunk its physical and social impact to little more than a whisper. How art thou? Emily?
I don't feel very well. I think I've got a temperature. I think I've got.
Emily, you're wearing bench. I mean, that is.
Weirdly.
Oh, you bench too. Bench crew.
Oh, that means it's cool, does it? Oh, yeah.
Hey.
I'm having more vaccine by the second.
I'm vaccinated. I don't want to make an issue out of it.
Exactly. Emily, you're right, actually.
Yeah. So.
Thursday. We fly back on Saturday, hopefully. And we've got to go to the airport now to have a lateral flow test. What I've done, just in case, is I've brought some lateral flow tests that are currently free on the NHS with me. They're free apparently, even though I pay taxes for the NHS, so it's not actually free. So what we've done is we've taken a lateral flow test each, so it's negative. If it had been positive, I would have cancelled my test at the airport and I would have extended my holiday by a week. And stayed out here. So we're going to go to the airport now and we'll run through that. So this is kind of how it all worked. We had to use a thing called Eurofin Test Centre or something like that. Registered with them. They say you book a time slot for your test, you turn up. We booked ours for 9 in the morning so we can get it done and then hopefully get our results and then get on with enjoying our holiday, because I've got to say it's quite stressful thinking, shit, am I gonna test positive, and the next thing my holiday goes from being 2 days still to enjoy the holiday and then flying home to pretty much the police coming round and imprison me in a hotel room at my expense of about €1,500 for 2 weeks. So anyway, we go there. We got the lift down there, around there just now with my mate, because I forgot my driver's licence, so I can't drive the hire car. Pretty much walked straight in, showed them the QR code that we had on our phone that we'd sent when we booked it. They took our passport number down. We went through, round to this little room around the back. This is all within the airport. From leaving here to being back here, I think it was 25 minutes, the whole thing. We got an email about 10 or 15 minutes after we'd left the airport saying, yeah, you're negative. That's it, it's done. It's just all a little bit pointless.
James, it's time for your anal swab.
Ah, perfect. Good timing. Purely because we know now, and a lot of you are going to go, oh, ready salted people spread it more than prawn cocktail people, and that's not actually true. We now know that that's not true. Everyone spreads it the same. So now I'm allowed to sit on a plane knowing that I'm negative with loads of people who are prawn cocktail and have no idea whether they've got it or not. So it just shows yet again that there's literally no science behind it. It's all completely stupid. It's mental. Let's go back to living our lives. Tell Dane how the holiday's going, Emily. Our last trip of the holiday was to visit Mount Teed and the famous alien landscape and caldera rim near the summit. As it stands, it's 3,718 metres above sea level, making it the highest mountain in Spain and the third tallest mountain in Europe. It's been a long time since I've thought about what happened to us over the last few years, and every time we get towards winter, the same voices who only care about one thing, who only want control, who only want to see you do what they tell them, start to speak up again and louder. This time round, I hope their calls are met with some sort of balance. Despite all the hoops we had to jump through, we did really enjoy the holiday. I look back at it with fond memories, thankful that the friends we went with didn't judge us for our decisions. And if there's one message I'd love for you to go away with having watched this video, is to not judge people for their decisions. Speak as you find, treat people with respect, and enjoy your lives.